From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday to you, and welcome to Open Line. We are taking your calls tonight on a topic that I hope you really find beneficial. We are talking about hearing loss, and we have Dr. Jennifer McLaughlin with Elite Audiology here to talk about that. Thank you for being here.
I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I wanted to let you know right off the bat, if you have a question for Dr. Jennifer, go ahead and give us a call. The number is at the bottom of the screen, 615-737+. We're taking all your calls tonight, so go ahead and ring us. In the meantime, I want to talk to Dr. McLaughlin about our hearing. It's something that most of us just take for granted, I would say, until we have a problem. So let's start with the basics. How do we hear?
Okay. Well, anything that makes a sound is going to also have sound waves associated with it. And the sound waves will go into the outer ear and then in through the ear canal. They hit the eardrum or the tympanic membrane. Then they go to these tiny little bones in the middle ear called the ossicles. And then they go to the inner ear, which is the end organ of hearing. And that's called the cochlea. It looks like a little snail shell. Now these little canals up here, those are the semicircular canals. Those control balance. But when the sound goes into the cochlea, it hits the little hair cells, and then it sends the signal up to the auditory nerve, and that sends a signal up to the brain.
And it all happens just like that, and that's why we take it for granted,
That's
I guess.
right.
Yeah. So I guess if I were to ask what goes wrong when we have hearing loss, there seems like there's a lot of different things that can go wrong.
Right. Many times the damage occurs in the inner ear. The little hair cells that I mentioned in the cochlea become damaged over time. They're supposed to move back and forth. They're in a kind of a fluid substance, and then eventually over time they'll lay down and they won't be able to come back up again. So then they're not able to send the signal through the nerve to the brain to let you know that some sound was there.
Sure. So you're missing out on part of life when you really can't hear.
Right. And that's 90% of hearing loss is in the inner ear. It's not treated medically with surgery or medication. So
when people come in to get an exam, what can they expect? What are you going to do?
First, we take a thorough case history, and we find out what kind of backgrounds, auditory environments they've been in. We think about their family history, if anyone in their family has a history of hearing problems, recreational and occupational noise exposure. And then I go over the tests before we actually do that. So at the end, people have a better understanding about the audiogram, which is the chart where we plot the hearing test results, and everything that goes along with that.
I remember as a kid back in school, we used to put on those headphones, and they'd say, raise this hand, now raise that hand when you hear, you know, is that still the case?
That's pretty much it.
Really?
Except we're in a soundproof booth, and so it's a little bit more thorough than that, and we do a few more frequencies in the school screenings. But yes, you still raise your hand when you hear the tone, and that's pretty much the gold standard for hearing tests. So.
When should children start to be screened?
Well, we actually have newborn hearing screenings that everyone has done at birth. And so that's a different kind of test. It's called otoacoustic emissions. How that works is we present some tones into the ear. They're called distortion product tones typically. And a normal healthy ear will send some soft sounds back out. It's kind of like an echo coming from the inner ear. And that's how we test the newborns.
Well, that's interesting. Oh, I never knew that. My babies went through it, but I was like, how is this working? I don't really understand. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, let's talk about signs of hearing loss at any age. Do they different from are they different among ages, or is it pretty consistent across the spectrum?
They are different at different ages.
Oh, okay.
With younger children, you would look for things along the lines of them not responding to their name, or a speech delay. A lot of times can be related to hearing loss. Now at that age, typically it can be related to fluid or some ear infections, things like that. About 3 to 6 out of every 1,000 children are born with a hearing loss. So, and that would be, more permanent. And then as we get older, adults would notice things like turning up the radio or the TV, or having to ask loved ones to repeat themselves consistently, or having trouble when they don't have visual cues, when someone's in another room at home, things like that.
I've also noticed people will start looking at your mouth a lot. If they can't hear you, then they're trying to read your lips.
Yes, that's a very common coping mechanism, and it's actually a good thing. Your ears always will help you hear better. Even when people are fitted with hearing instruments, I encourage them to use their eyes to help them hear better.
Oh, okay. I've never heard that before. That's interesting.
Yeah.
What is it about? Well, I mean, I guess it just comes back to getting older. So many people are resistant as they get older to admit that they're having trouble hearing. They will blame it on a whole host of things.
Yes.
How do you cope with, how do you, I guess, get over that with patients, or get them to get over that fact?
Right. Well, so many people will say, I can hear, but I can't understand. The reason for that is that typical hearing loss occurs more in the high pitches, and that's where a lot of the consonant sounds of speech are that give us our word understanding. About 80% of word understanding is in those high pitch ranges. They might have excellent hearing in the low pitches, so they can still hear. They understand that someone's speaking to them, but they don't understand the exact words, or they'll confuse hop from stop and pop. You know, those soft consonant sounds a lot of times are what's throwing them off. So
I guess by the time they come in to see you, they've kind of come to grips with, I need to do something.
Right.
What do you say to people who are living with someone who has hearing loss, and they're saying, come on now, you need to go see someone? They just won't and won't and won't.
Right.
Can you give that person some tips?
Yeah, that's the hard part, is getting them through the door.
Yes.
First, I would say to just encourage them to have it checked out. It's just a test. We're just going to see what happens, and you'd be surprised. A lot of people that think that they have a significant problem, they don't.
Oh.
So we always encourage everyone over 50 to come in for a baseline test, just to see how everything's going, especially if they're having some of the concerns we mentioned, or their loved one notices some things going on there. But getting them through the door is the hard part. And if you go to someone you trust, that's part of the battle.
Yes.
I would always recommend going to a licensed audiologist. You can check that through the board of Tennessee, the Communication Disorders Board. Also someone who's either ASHA or AAA certified. That's the American Academy of Audiology and the Academy of Speech and Hearing Disorders. So
easy enough.
Yeah.
Now I should ask you, where is your office? Where is Elite Audiology?
Yes, I know, it's a tongue twister. We're located in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. It's exit 226. It's the Providence exit.
Very popular area.
It is. We're on the north side of the interstate, so the opposite side of the interstate of Providence. Less than a mile, about 3/4 of a mile on the right, in the Toddy building. We're up on the second floor.
Oh, fantastic. I know right where it is. I go by there just about every day. That's easy enough to find. All right, we're going to take a quick break. I'd love to hear some of your questions, so go ahead and give us a call. The number again, 615-737-PLUS, or that's 7587. Taking your questions and calls, and we're talking about hearing loss all hour long. Stay with us.